Well, you know how I like to find materials as I'm walking around on the trail down here. And here is a rust resource for a fire roll. The only problem is though, the rust that'll come off of this is going to be too big and too chunky, too hard to use in like a cotton fire roll. You'll have to take and break that rust down into a fine, fine powder. You know, you can use a couple of rocks. You can use your knife blade to just keep on smearing it against a hard surface. But really a pestle is good to break it down. And that's exactly what we have here in this spike. A nice pestle right there to break those big rust chunks down. It's a good find. Look what somebody lost on the trail. Can you believe it? Need to turn away from the sun, don't I? I've never used pepper spray, but there's some in there. Did they throw it out? Did they later just because it doesn't work, or did they happen to lose it? Let's try it out. Looks like this lever is supposed to lock over here. And then, while you're all upset and scared, you're supposed to have enough wherewithal to push it over here and make sure it lines up with that slot right there. Let's see if it works. Oh, good night. It works just fine. Let's get in the sun with it. That tree with the ivy on it is 8 feet away. Let's try it. Oh, it easily makes it to that tree. But it's out. Wow. I'll go ahead and carry this litter out. Wow, I never even considered carrying pepper spray before, but it might be a good idea. I'd much rather irritate my way out of a bad situation than have to shoot my way out of a bad situation. So this could be the first line of defense, and if they go for their gun, then I've got my gun. I should be able to get it out on them, draw down on them quicker. I'm gonna start investigating pepper spray. Awful easy to use, and you know that can't cost much. And this was, I thought I smelled cayenne pepper, and the oil that was spraying out was a little bit red. You could see it on the video. And sure enough, if red pepper is cayenne pepper, that's what they say is in this. Pretty interesting. Now, here is the spike that we found. I've been looking at it a lot closer, and the rust on here is not, there's not very much rust. This is the difficult kind of rust. The best kind of rust that you can use is like what's on sheet metal and angle iron. When you scrape it off, it just falls off into the finest of powders. This kind of metal makes a kind of rust that blisters the metal. So it's more like a combination of metal and flaky rust. So this definitely will work. It's harder to fire roll, but you have to just take the time and process it on down. So this one I found last week and got a fire roll with it. And so we'll go ahead and use a combination of the rust off of both of these. You can imagine if you was trying to do this in a survival situation, it'd be so much harder than working off of this fire table here. So much harder than using this manufactured lumber and stuff. So, you know, I just want to show you things that will work. It's sort of up to you though to use your creativity to figure out what you use for top boards and bottom boards, like logs and rocks and different fibers in nature. Even having this cotton fiber is an extreme advantage because you need a very, very strong fiber. And If you don't have the cotton ball, you'll just have to use yucca fiber, or sometimes you might have some jute twine that you can use, but even jute can be tricky because there's oils in those fibers from the manufacturing process. So let's go ahead and see how much rust we can get off of this, and then go ahead and use this like a pestle and break it on down. Oh, and I've got some ashes out here too in case I want to do a standard fire roll. Now I've already got some good powder on the table, but let me show you these flaky, blistered pieces of rust. And our 2 railroad spikes. Now that is powdery enough to fire roll. You want to get it super tight. So keep giving it plenty of forward rolls until you feel like it's tight enough to withstand the rolling process. The harder you press down when you're fire rolling, the better it is. So if you've never really accomplished a fire roll, start pressing down as hard as you can. It's going to make a difference. Boy, I'd better get my tinder bundle ready. All right, this will be the base. And this part here we'll cover over the top of the ember with. And I still have some more powder here just in case we need to do it again. Now, we are ready to go. If it is not smoking, go back and roll it some more. These are not the best pine needles compared to the last batch that I had. I'm gonna go get another cotton ball and we'll go ahead and try this little pile of rust right here. That one went rather easily. Like I say, it would not go that easily if you tried to do it naturally with fallen trees and rocks and stuff that you find in nature. It'd be a whole lot harder than that. Roll it up as tight as you can with your fingers. Then further tighten it with some forward passes with your hand. Continue to make it good and tight with the board. And you'll have decent success. I was bearing down as hard as I could on that. Now with wood ashes, I don't have to bear down all that hard. But you do on this rust, or I do anyways. You hear that nail gun going off in the distance. In the wintertime, you can see through the trees, and there's a whole line of houses way on the other side of the creek, and somebody's getting re-roofed. If it's not smoking, go back and roll it some more. Usually when the smoke's rising up off of it that fast, it's fixing to go to flames on its own. All right, y'all. There are lots of rustables that have been thrown out in nature for the last 200 years. They may not be readily apparent, but they're out there. There's plenty of ways to find rust for a fire roll. All right, y'all. Appreciate you joining me on this one. We'll catch you on the next one.